Johnny was upset that he had to sell the boat and he was off the wagon again. However, he did not wish to inform his youngsters, therefore he was concealment it from them. Amber Detective had created up loads of stories throughout the defamation case, but I assume one in all the foremost disputed is that the one that concerned Reb Depp's children. She had mentioned Johnny Depp's kids too repeatedly during the trial. Heard even shared a number of stories regarding once she was still married to Johnny and the way she tried to require care of the youngsters when she was still their stepmother. One involves a selected episode of her and Lily Aisha's plant Rose making an attempt to run aloof from Reb. However, contrary to her stories, it looks like Depp's youngsters were terribly affected along with her and unconcealed what reasonably step-parent she really is. Therefore, what did Amber say about Johnny and the way did Lily Aisha's plant Rose react? Let's decide if you were ready to tune throughout the defamation case between Johnny and Amber. You'll sure as shooting comprehend how Amber had mentioned her life as Depp's spouse and additional importantly, because the stepmother of Johnny's children. Of course, she shared before the court stories and anecdotes regarding what quantity she worshipped the youngsters and did everything in her power to guard them from their father. Yep, it's virtually a fairy tale story, except this one was all created up since Lily Aisha's plant Rose and Amber Detective did not click. From the terribly beginning, Reb had shared however his girl wasn't very keen on Amber. From the very beginning, Lily Aisha's plant Rose even skipped her wedding. That made individuals raise their eyebrows. Since if what Johnny's saying happened, then there is a sensible probability that Amber was solely shading Johnny and creating up stories to form the public believe that she and Lily Aisha's plant were close. In an exceedingly statement, Johnny stressed the hurt and his girl word on sensible terms for explicit reasons. Pretty suspicious, right? Most fans suppose that she solely created another narrative in her like better to duplicate the allegations she was accused of Johnny once things got pretty crazy. Once Detective narrated the alleged escape, she and Lily Aisha's plant rose to that when Johnny had several drinks throughout their land trip. This happened in 2013 when Depp set to possess a off-Wiedersehen trip. Once he sold his yacht, the then family flew to a private island within the land for a beautiful vacation. However, Amber saying it had been a nightmare for her and also the kids. Notice, however, Amber stressed how she was ready to develop a bond with Johnny's kids. The alternative of words was pretty calculated and elite to make up a name as an honest spouse and stepmother. He was commercialism the yacht to J.K. Rowling, and he wished to reasonably have an off-Wiedersehen trip on the yacht. Therefore it was Dopp off the island, and that I went with him and his kids, who I quickly developed a bond with and loved. And we brought an addict in conjunction with us, I think, to reasonably facilitate and okay. Amber, purpose taken. Right once this. She began talking regarding however Depp was obtaining back to recent habits once more. Amber conjointly mentioned how the Pirates of Caribbean star was drinking again and was making an attempt his best to cover it from his kids. This was Amber's opening to alter Johnny, and she was solely getting started. Johnny was upset that he had to sell the boat and he was off the wagon again. However, he did not wish to inform his kids, so he was concealment it from them. He was golf stroking in low cups and drinking, and also the behavior simply reasonably like he was upset. He was emotional. And he just, that is however he treated it. Of course, Johnny's lawyers objected most of the time since Heard's durations were hearsay. That is why Elaine Brady Hoff was having a tough time reminding Amber how things ought to be done. Going back to Heard's story, she continued by expression that Lily Aisha's plant Rose, who was younger, then started asking regarding her father and was turning into additional anxious and panic struck as a result of Depp's behavior. Again, this was a noticeable decide to paint Reb in an exceedingly unhealthy lightweight ahead of the court and before the jury. So Lily Aisha's plant Rose is crying, then the crying becomes sort of like a panic. Almost like a panic attack, like speedy breathing, crying, many questions. And I am holding her reasonably comforting her. And Johnny comes in and inside a number of within a few seconds.